Hi, my family, the viewers of my channel. I hope this Saturday, the 13th of June 2026, finds you in perfect peace and shape. Warm greetings from my farm as always. Weekends for me are mostly here at the farm, majorly in my coffee plantation. So today I felt like I needed to share with us on the question of starting small versus starting big. It cuts across the entire sector of agribusiness. It could also cut across even in the other things, but I'll center it so much on coffee farming. Yeah, because there's so much news going on around and about in my country, Uganda, concerning coffee. And of course, so many people are getting into agribusiness and so many people are getting into particularly coffee growing. And here is something I feel that you need to know. The question of starting small versus starting big, okay? About 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a senior friend of mine concerning the subject of agribusiness, the potential in agribusiness versus the other, income generating opportunities of businesses out there, more so with the challenges of our economy today. And while we are having that conversation, another a friend of his, both of them senior to me, comes incidentally and shares a sad story, a story of how, of course, he yielded to the call of our Katikkiro, the Katikkiro of Buganda here, the Emwanyi Terimba campaign, and of course the campaign from other government officials and senior officials of our country over growing coffee. And he went ahead. He was starting out for the very first time like myself and started with 10 acres of coffee. So normally here Robusta, the recommendation is 450 trees per acre. So 10 acres with a spacing of 10 by 10 feet, that is, or 3 meters by 3 meters. So you could say we are looking at 4,500 trees of his in one go for the very first time. And as I was saying, what he was sharing was a sad story. I'm going to say this both in English and in Luganda so that everyone can be able to connect. I'll quote him first. He said something like, nateekayo eyo emmwanyi zange eka nga 10 naye emmwanyi kye zinkola bizinensi yonna giziridde zikoze eki zigimazeewo, which translates in English such as that I planted my 10 acres of coffee somewhere, but man, the experience I'm having is pretty rough. In fact, those my 10 acres of coffee have eaten. In other words, they are sucking the life of capital out of his other business into the coffee. And here is where the question of starting small versus starting big becomes really important, most especially if you're starting out for the very first time. Now look, here is my understanding. For me, when I was starting out, by the way, I started with 500 trees. I had more land where I could have at least times 2 or 3 of what I have, or rather what I started out with, the 500 trees. But I said, hey, look, I am starting out for the very first time. From the research I have done, coffee matures in about, some talk about 2 years, others 2.5, others 3 years, others 4 years, depending of course on the variety that you have planted. Okay, so I said, well, because it's my very first time, much as I have done research on YouTube and benchmarked on a few farms here and there, but because it's going to be my personal journey, let me start small, learn it, and then we'll scale from experience. So from the story that I have shared, someone is talking about 10 acres, they had the land, maybe they also had the money capital to dig the holes, buy the plantlets and all those things to begin with. So they started with the 10 acres. But maybe just a couple of months down the road, these trees are sucking the life out of them. And trust me, at the end of the day, that person is not going to have any kind words or any good words in as far as this cash crop is concerned. Yet on the other hand, you're going to come across so many people who are speaking so highly and positively of the same. And this is once again where the question of starting small versus starting big comes in from, or comes into play. Like I mentioned, myself, I could have started with 3 or maybe 4 times more than what I started with. But I said, hey, look, it's the very first time. So first go in small, understand how this works, and then you scale later. And I cannot regret that. 1 year, 8 months down the road, my dear friends, I can show you that these my trees that you see in the background have actually started giving me fruit. I think I even shared the video on my TikTok and a short here on YouTube the other time, the other weekend, just a week ago, still when I was picking red cherries from these very trees. And this is not something that is so common amongst very many coffee farmers. It's hard, by the way, that I can now authoritatively say, to come across someone with 1 year and 8 months old trees that are giving them fruit. That is in terms of red cherries. And there I can also brag about the size of the cherries and then also the quantity. You get what I'm saying? In fact, on one of the videos I did here on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, someone was asking that, is it true that those trees are actually, then the trees were about 1 year, 6 months, 1 year coming to 7 months. Is it true that those your trees are actually 1 year and 7 months? That in other words, they could not believe from their very experience. And my friends, me, this is what I believe concerning the subject matter that we are talking about today. That is of the question of starting small versus starting big. Look, coffee is something that you have to wait for. Let me talk about maturation to a point of beginning to think about starting to pull something out of it. It doesn't matter whether the capital or the profit, but both in the same bracket. After, safer to say 2 years and a half coming to 3 years. Now, and the fact is not so many people are willing or are patient enough to invest money, time, effort for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, then the second one, and maybe also add another half of a year or 3 years before they can begin getting anything out of whatever it is they're investing their money in. Not so many of us are that patient. But even if we were, not so many of us have the privilege of the capital. Because now, for me, these my trees to be looking the way they do, my cameraman can come and show you, but of course I have been sharing with us over the years. These trees you see, 1 year, 8 months, they have those berries, loaded with those berries. They are flowering at the same time. They're doing that. This is one tree. We can come to the neighboring tree here. It is the same story. You can see they're having those berries flowering at the same time, looking green and healthy. You know, it's the story. That tree, you're going to see it on this tree. You're going to see it on that tree. You're going to see it on this tree. You're going to see it on all those trees that you see right there. You're going to see this one is flowering, and of course, down below it is carrying cherries. Okay? When you look at that tree right there, it is flowering. That tree right there, you can see what it is carrying. You know, it is flowering here. It is carrying so many brilliant cherries in terms of size, in terms of quantity. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm showing you are 1 year and 8 months old trees, okay? Look at this one here. Look at this one here. In fact, with this one, you have a chance of witnessing me picking some of the what? The red berries, because sometimes we record these things and we put them for God's people, and they think that we are lying to them. I hope you can clearly see that from this tree, I'm actually picking the red cherries, okay? Right here, as you can see. I mean, it's the story everywhere else in my plantation. Today I have more than 500 trees, the ones that I started with. But for me to have this, it has taken me a year and 8 months of the following. These trees somewhere down along the road, they need various inputs, okay? That is agro inputs. There are times they are going to demand for nitrogen. There are times they are going to demand for phosphorus. There are times they are going to demand for potassium, the famous NPK that you usually hear people talking about. That's what the NP and K stand for, in case you did not know. There are times when these crops are going to demand for irrigation. These days it's hard to do any kind of farming without irrigation, without a water source. You cannot entirely rely on the seasons these days. Well, this year, with the first season here in central Uganda, we are grateful to the good Lord that it has been a consistent rainy season. It started around mid-Feb, if I'm not mistaken, or mid-March, and all the way up to now. We are approaching mid-June, and some of the people are still getting some spells of rain, okay? And we are thankful to God for that. But that hasn't been the case over the years, and we are not even certain of what is going to happen tomorrow or the other season to come, or the months to come this year and the years to what? And the years to come. So these trees are going to require you to irrigate them. As I was saying, these trees are going to require you a reliable workforce that really has the heart for what they are doing, because they involve weeding. As you can see, these trees here do not have overgrown grass, because a team behind them is taking good care of them. That it is not obvious that these look as green as they do. They are carrying flower and fruit at the same time, the way they do. It's not obvious. There's a lot of work behind. Now, when you decide to go all out, to go big, without having personally, and that is firsthand, had to experience the work required to do this, trust me, my friend, you may lose heart down the road. And this is what it means in agriculture. The moment you lose the vision, the moment you give up right in the middle of the journey, you're going to lose all the resources that you would have invested. And how sad. Because I'll keep referring to the story of that my senior friend, or I'll say friend of a friend. 10 acres requires some vast amount of money capital that he must have invested, because a seedling is about, a good seedling for starters is 3,000, between 2,000 and 3,000. So you can do the math. 3,000, let's take 2,500. I'll use my calculator here. 2,500 times 4,500 trees. That is, of course, on the basis of the 10 by 10 spacing, the 10 acres. This person needed 11,250,000 Uganda shillings just for the seedlings at the level of planting. And like my holes here, each hole was dug for 2,000. So they probably require the same amount of about another 11,500,000 Uganda shillings, roughly 12 million, just for the holes. That is already 22 something or 23 million. Then the part of planting, there is a workforce there that you need to plant the trees, more money. Then there is that manure that you need, or fertilizers that you need when you are starting out, more money. So this is what I am trying to say, that when you lose heart down the road, that's all that money would be going to waste. I hope this message is going home, most especially for my people who are trying to start out this for the very first time. like myself, I did 1 year and 8 months ago. So you look at that. 30 million is not an amount of money that you would gladly lose. That money can buy some very nice, second-hand cars here in Uganda, but it can do a lot to improve the livelihood of a Ugandan down here. So, which is why it is important that I think you would rather start small for purposes of understanding what you're getting yourself into practically, and then you scale from experience. That it will save you a lot of trouble. First of all, you'll be able to maximize the small, as well as at the point of scaling, you'll also be scaling from experience. So meaning, if there are any losses to incur, you will have minimized them, as opposed to someone with some small capital. You decide to go all out, you go big, you're not that practically experienced about what you're getting into. Then you get in the journey down the road, you get frustrated, you give up, and you lose your money, but also most importantly, you lose heart for something that could have transformed your life and secured the future for yourself and your loved ones. And like you are already aware, I'm saying this out of experience. Myself, with just actually 500 trees, which is roughly an acre, there is a time, sometime either at the start of this very year or late last year, there was a very bad spell of about 2-3 weeks to a month. The sun was so hot. The sun rays were ultraviolet. I reached these very trees that you're seeing here, and they were looking so miserable. Mind you, I have an irrigation system in place somewhere up here in this very farm. But I remember coming down here, teamed up with my men, we watered the trees, but because the sun was much hotter than even the water we were providing these trees, so there was little to no effect. And it was very frustrating. It was very disheartening. It was very everything along those lines that I felt like giving up. I felt like giving up. That's the one thing I can tell you for sure. But well, because when I started out, I was determined on what I was getting into. It was not just out of excitement. I dug my heels in, stuck the course, and here is where we are today. So as I try to summarize this, I've shared this in form of a story, so you could pick a few things here and there, or you could pick some lessons for yourself here and there from what I have been sharing, because this is entirely unscripted. It is entirely freestyle, based or out of experience. But let me try to summarize it for you. When it comes to the question of starting small versus starting big, personally, I would rather recommend that you start small, most especially if you're getting into for the very first time. It doesn't matter whether you have the land, you have the money, you feel you have, most especially those two are usually what will push us to feel like we are ready. So it doesn't matter whether you have the land and the money, because that money you could lose if you don't calculate your steps going forward well or wisely. Better, like I've already recommended, you start small, you gain experience, and then scale out of experience. Remember the story of that friend, 10 acres? The 10 acres are not anywhere yet near to harvesting. A lot of money has already been invested in them. Meanwhile, the source of the capital, life is being sucked out of it by these very trees that are not yet about to produce fruit for him to get some money back. So you see that that person is in a very delicate situation or position. Anytime these trees could suck all the capital out of the business that is sustaining him and those trees, and he would be down completely. Maybe he would now have to undertake loans, which is another problem of its own. You get what I'm saying? Or he might find himself in a situation of letting his 10 acres of trees to whom it may concern. And you see that cannot work if it's agribusiness. You get what I'm saying? And I've already mentioned that. So, had he probably maybe with the same amount of money, and even less, decided to start maybe with an acre or two, which is about 900 trees, yes, at most, plant with those, the story would be different. He wouldn't be having as much stress and pressure, finding himself in a desperate position as he is today. I have so many stories of that kind. There's another one who actually, for them, they claim, or in their mind and in their books, they planted 13 acres. But when you get there on site, the truth of the matter, they don't even have 3 acres of coffee, because what they have there is like a forest. Much as they went through the processes, dug the holes, bought the plantlets, put them in the ground, added manure and whatever fertilizer they had to, the truth of the matter is what they claim or they believe mentally have is not 13 acres. They have way much less than 13 acres. Yet the resources input at the beginning of investment was for 13 acres. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. That's why I'm saying to you, it doesn't matter whether you have the land or the money capital, start small and scale. Because there are other issues that you have to deal with. I talked about the irrigation, the changing weather patterns or climatic conditions. There is labor and all those other things, even you gaining the knowledge and practical experience of what you have to do. So, and sometimes it's not as easy practically going forward as it may seem or sound when everything is being shared to you on paper. So I could go on and on and on, but I hope you got the message from this, my simple story. I finished strong by telling you, you would rather start small than starting big. Start small, gain the experience, maximize the small, and then scale. Then you'll be in business. Until next time, may the good Lord bless you. Cheers.